Hello, welcome back and thanks for joining me. Hit like and hit subscribe. We're back in Ableton. We're going to go through some kick drums. I've got a new sample pack curated by me. We've got 250 drum sounds plus 100 bonus loops. And it's the Kick Builder Volume 2. Kick Builder Volume 1 by Revolt was a great hit, great success. It did very well, had some amazing feedback. I've jumped in for number 2. The purpose of this is having sounds at your disposal for your production, geared towards hard techno, shrans, hardcore, industrial, but of course the way you shape and tone things, you can use them in many other contexts. The concept here, as per the name Kick Builder, we'll see here, we've got the Kick Builder is folder 1, we've got full loops which is already layered and processed, then we've got Gallop loops, mid-range loops, rumble loops, transient loops, and this time around I've added some Vox layer loops to keep it unique. When we get into the second folder, we've got a whole bunch of one-shots. Industrial kicks, hardcore kicks, rumble kicks, kick effects, 909s, and I've added some bass tones. The third and final folder is a whole bunch of extra kick drum samples that we've got from other packs that are in there as a bonus. So, lately, and similar to the last video I did on the Kick Builder, I've been keeping it within 3 channels. Reason being, I'll group my kicks. I'll start thin to thick. I'll typically have a sidechain channel which would be muted, then have the 3 after that. I normally start with the transient layer, which is normally quite thin, as you can see by the envelope. The second layer will be the main kick, which is going to be the main focus, the main energy. The third layer can be a variation of different things. Typically, it's either a rumble bass or a kick drum where I've shaved off the first half of that transient just to use that offbeat to fill that space in the void. So what I might do is I'll move all these down here. I'll leave the sidechain off for now. I might add that later depending how we go. I'll get into the top very shortly. So what I've done here is I'll play the loop first. Let's have a listen. Oh, let's add the bass. Another example's here. Which is a lot fuller. Now, in this first one, what I've done is I had already done some shaving of the envelope. Now, in here, the first top 2 are full loops from folder 1. Now, typically, they're good to go, right? With sample packs, I know they can be advertised as drag and drop, and these certainly are, but I always encourage with any sample use is processing it and shaping it your own, layering it to have a good starting point to then get to the final product to then have it as your own. So even though the top one in the transient channel is a full loop, I really initially liked what I was hearing right at the start on that knock, which is essentially what I was keeping. So the transient layer, I'll typically shave maybe halfway through the kick, or as per your taste, and really get those fades. Just so we're keeping more of the high end. And without even really EQing, we can probably duck a lot of that as well. But of course, you can, as per your taste, really tighten that up. So that's essentially what I'm going for. I'll leave it off for now. Let's get that out of it. The beauty of the transient layers is having the envelope, and this is why I love working this way in Ableton, is having that full control over the sustain. That can really dictate how aggressive the kick can be. I like to keep them short, so we'll leave it there. Now, the next one is a full kick loop as well, which I like. Which is more on the darker side. It's sort of got that low end muffle, which I like. But again, adding that transient layer can really just help it cut through the mix a bit more because we can roll off the low end. And it's just gonna make the kick knock harder, which can make the kick hit harder in general. Now again, as I was saying, the depending on the genre or the style of your track, how aggressive you want it to be, you can really dictate that with these fades. So if we duplicate this and go short, we'll loop both and you'll hear them A-B. Then if we were to loop it, a lot more open, a lot sharper. Now I personally like that there, so we'll keep it there. Now again, even though I haven't gone through other parts of the pack yet, being a full loop, because I've already sort of done this layering for you and processed it, I really liked the second half of this. So again, as per your style, I often used to really just shave the envelope from the start of the loop. Lately I have been just getting rid of that excess audio regardless, and then shaving up from there. It's just cleaning it up a lot more. Now again, we're not limited to anything, so we sort of get this decay and sustain fall off. You know, that might be coming this way. And with the full loop, this is where your decision making is going to come in. How much are you keeping? Let's solo the whole group. One second. So you can decide, you can see they're going to overlap at some point, but it's not too tragic. And I haven't adjusted any levels, I haven't done any EQing, I haven't done any phasing things, nothing just yet. In regards to the phasing, because I'm shaving it, so I'm overlapping it at such a small point of time in such a short loop, I often get away with it. If it's hindering anything like that, I'll get into, well, now I'll use Q4 rather than utility to flip the phase, because Q4 has the all pass filter. So you can find the fundamental of the kick and the sub, turn that all phase filter on, and do them on each channel if they're overlapping or if they're out of phase. Typically, if I'm going to do that, I'll do it on each channel individually here, and then process the bus or the group. So the phase is staying the same between those two kick channels, and then I can really get it more into processing it globally within that bus. If I'm doing the all pass filtering or the phasing on the individual kicks, I'll leave it there in the EQ part of it. I won't sort of do anything else. The frequencies I want to maybe highlight or tame or control and take out, I'll do that within the group itself. Unless it's really something that's peaking out and resonating, I'll take care of that individually. Typically, even though they're already processed and they've already been created, again, I wouldn't be stopping there. I use these samples, I use other samples from other sample packs and anything I can get my hands on really, and I'm still always doing my own processing regardless, even though a lot of them are sometimes good to go and they're really strong, and sometimes they work straight off the shelf, and you know, that's a win in my eyes, but I'll still do my own thing and put my own touch on it. So we have that luxury, but the whole point of this is to be able to build your own kick, whether it's layered, whether you're using it as layers or you want that final end result. The beauty of that is within the first folder, full kick loops, which I'll show you up here. I've dragged the first 5 out, and this is what we're going to hear. Let's go, I'll loop this whole part. Each color is going to be a different sample. These are the first 5. Hard as nails, I love it. Here are some of the one-shots. So in the one-shot folder in folder 2, we've got industrial, hardcore, and rumble kicks. So the first screen are from the industrial folder 1. Now, looping them though. So on and so forth. Some hardcore kicks here in the pink. But again, looping. Some extra detail there. Not just the kick itself. Rumble kicks are a lot warmer, a lot rounder. these are probably best to then add some layers. Obviously, you can do whatever the fuck you want, right? So I found with the rumble kicks, if we take this out and we were to build, if we keep that same concept of transient, main kick, kick 2, or let's call it layer. This is where I find the rumbles work best, because within the next folder, folder 2, I've got folder 1, I've got the transient loops. I decided to do 2 folders because very commonly, and this works, don't get me wrong, hi-hat, clap, snare, percussion, or general percussion sounds are used for transient layering, which is fine, they work. But I've always had my point of difference and made a note when I'm making my kick drums that I'll use anything, and normally things outside of percussion sounds, even though they work so well, for my transient layers, to get that point of difference, to get maybe a more metallic sound, more of an effect sound within the kick itself, because then once we've got layers and we're grouping together, as a whole, the whole context, it's hard to then compartmentalize what's actually in the kick drum. When we hear it as a whole, you might not hear every individual detail because it's not soloed, but we're getting that character and that point of difference because we actually have these layers in there. So aggressive transients are a lot more processed. Here we go here. And a lot more unique, because I want it to be as valuable as possible. I don't want to put just a folder of claps and snares for layering. You can do that already with what you probably have, even standard with your DAW, right? Then I've got this normal transition, a bit cleaner, a bit more percussive bass, but still not typical. Oh, and then, sorry, before I do that, then I did a Vox layer group, which I've never done before, which is cool, I think. It can contribute to many different genres, but it gives that point of difference again. The beauty of these are, let's have a listen. Again, these fades, crucial. But even some of the other ones, you know, they can be used as vocal points in the track. Not with that transient layer, that's for sure. But let's go down here to here. We'll get a cleaner one, something like that, a bit more typical. Bring that volume down. Yeah, that could be a case of adjusting that volume accordingly, getting those levels right. So it don't always have to be typically layered 4/4. That is the beauty of this. I want you to be open-minded and quite experimental. Same with kick effects, because sure, they are kicks that have been processed and affected, but the beauty is they can be used in breakdowns, intros, outros, build-ups to sort of build that anticipation of something coming, or a big drop, or the last drop. Like obviously I've processed the kick quite heavily there. But if we, you know, are open-minded and we are using this as an intro, let's say, so let's loop the whole lot. Let's get this kick up there. It's quite thin. Let's consolidate it. We'll make this our sidechain channel. Leave that muted. For example, this is where it could all kick in. If we go to our compressor, basic Ableton sidechain 101, but it works. Bring that threshold down. One second. I was going to say that wasn't sounding right. Let's do it this way. Shrink it. You know, for build-ups and things like that, let's have a listen. this one most for right now. So we'll loop this all the way. Get rid of that, leave the side chain muted. Now what I'm saying is, often when I'm doing one-on-one sessions or I'm getting questions about kicks or they send me a reference track, let's say this was the intro. Obviously it's quite bare, but let's imagine there's other things happening in the track. When we're getting it, sure, we've got this random effect, and yes, it's side chaining, so it can perceive itself that it's part of the kick group when it's not, but because it's side chain, so it's sort of behaving in 4/4 with the kick drum, contextually with a lot of other things, it can sound like it's all one. And a lot of times when they send me reference tracks like how they make this kick, there's actually a lot more involved in the kick. It's not so much one kick by itself, it's all these things together. We've got a transient layer, the kick layer, the layer in between to sort of fill up the offbeat. Then we have this effect, this white noisy effect. So that's why I love them. And I use effects a lot in general. The beauty of these are, they can be used in this context because they're longer. They can be used as general effects throughout the song. For example, you know, we could even switch that as a reverse, delete that first part. You know, this could be a sweep on, you know, the end of your loop, say. Of course, you can change the cadence as much as you like. But you can see, you know, that's all just coming out of that kick effect. This is a great example of a quick interlude within your track. I use things like this to introduce a new element. So let's say we're keeping it there. And what I'll do is I'll just get a percussion loop just to keep it simple. Let's go with Skoden hat loop. We'll keep it simple, offbeat. Now these are great examples of using these effects as interludes for builds up or intros. And what I might do is I will just simply shorten. I won't play that full effect just to save some time. A bit loud, but you get the point of the concept. And then introducing that next element. So please check out those effects. They are golden. Where to go? Up here. The rumbles themselves as well, I wanted to make quite gritty. So, you know, because rumbles, we roll off so much of the high end to get that sub really going in between. I still tried to make them quite gritty. That's the style I like. I hear it a lot in a lot of tracks that I'm mixing or mastering, or even just in general listening. So even though it's a subtone and we've got that higher end rolled off, I haven't rolled it off just, you know, 100 and under. There's no magic rule here. It's all gone by. That's more typical. But I've still added the harmonics, rolled it off, and still try to keep a lot of that grit in there, which worked great. You know, something like that with a very clean, warm kick that doesn't have much of a sustain, you'll be able to fit them in quite nicely and then use those fades to really get them together. And that's before any EQing, processing, saturation, or glue compression on the bus, anything. You'll find with the fades and the way you can set this kick builder up, you'll be able to do that quite naturally as well. Before I wrap up, I decided to add kick gallops and mid-range loops purposely for more character. I'll leave that there. Mainly based on echo and delay, typically to get the gallop. But they're nice. I mean, this is not processed, so I haven't touched it yet, but there's going to be a lot of clashing going on. But you can see, even if we just... you can really control the fade, do your own sort of manual side chaining with the envelope, and then dictate They're still going to have some lower end, like 200 under, but they are focused more so towards a mid-range. And that goes the same with the actual mid-range loops as well. Going into the Gallops, they're great for introductions paired with the effects. So if we get this Gallop here, the white noise sound's gone, but let's open this up. What I'll do is I'll group these, take them out. Let's imagine this is an introduction. Let's add the sweep in there. Great for build-ups, because if we were then to go into and you get into it from there. So that's an insight to what sounds are in there. I wanted to showcase also why I've set up the folders the way they have. You can go in there and individually take the transient, the main kick, the one shot, the rumble bass, excuse me, laid with effects. You can turn the effects into sweeps. You can run the effects with the Gallops. You can use the mid-range to fill up some of the offbeat for the tighter kicks if you're using the envelope, and you can really get somewhere quite quickly. Not that we're trying to rush, but ideally within, you know, a good 10 minutes, you can just take some time, get the right sound palette working. Then from there, you can start taking care of business with your envelopes, your phasing, your processing, your group processing, all of the above. So I hope you enjoyed it. It's out now. The link's below, and leave me some feedback in the comments below. I'd love to know what you think. Thank you. We'll see you next week. Bye.